beautiful people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to another tutorial. It's me IJ and I'm back with a new tutorial. If today is your first time of stopping by my channel, you are on the right channel. Welcome. My returning subscribers, kudos, thanks for your support. So guys, we are going to DIY this beautiful summer gown that you are seeing on the screen. It is so simple to achieve. This gown is achieved with corset top. So we are going to use the corset top to achieve it. You can equally achieve it with an off-shoulder bustier top. You can equally do that to achieve it. The choice is yours, but I want to use a corset top like it is on the screen to achieve it. So now, this gown you are seeing is going to be cut in 3 pieces. The first piece is going to be the top, the upper part of it, from your shoulder to where you want it to be on your half length. That is the waist. So the length we are using, the length of the gown we are making is 41 inches. We are going to use 41 inches as our length. So we are going to minus the upper part of it, which is the corset part. So from the shoulder to the waist, where we are going to stop, is going to be 18 inches. So we are going to minus this 18 from the 41, which is the full length. We are going to be left with 23 inches. So on the other side of the down, which is the ruffle, we are going to use 10 inches. The ruffle is going to be 10 inches. So now, from this 23 inches, we are going to minus 10 inches, which is going to be the ruffle. So we are going to be left with 13 inches. So 13 inches is going to be the length of the skirt that we are going to use. So that is what we are going to use. So now I'm going to cut out the skirt first before I will now cut out the corset. I've made series of corset drafting, how to achieve a corset. I've made series of it. So I'm going to use my already drafted panel to cut out the upper part. Then we are going to start fixing them together. I don't want to stress you guys by starting again to start drafting. If you have not watched it, please, I will link it to the description box below for you guys to check it out. It's very easy to achieve. Remember, I made also a corset that you can use your bustier, princess bustier pattern to draft. So anyone that is easy for you, you can use it. So now guys, let us cut out our skirt panel. So this is the material I'm going to use. This is the material I'm going to use. So I'm going to fold my material following the hip measurement that we are working with. Folded it in 2 using our hip circumference. The hip circumference we are working with is 46. 46 divided by 4 is 11.5. So I have folded it and added some allowances to it. So now on this line you are seeing is our starting point. So now we are going to start here, but I'm going to leave 1 inch gap here. I'm going to mark 1 inch. I'm marking this 1 inch to cover between the half length and the space. You know, when we are putting out our skirt, it is here. Our half length is here. So that space that is between the half length and where we put our skirt, I'm covering it with 1 inch. So this is what you are seeing now, this 1 inch. So from here now, I'll start to measure our length. So from this 1 inch now, I'm going to measure our length. So the length we are working with is 13 inches. So here is our 13 plus 1 inch seam allowance, half inch to turn it and half inch to add it to the upper side. Half inch to add to the upper side and half inch to add to our ruffle. So now I'm going to mark 14 inches here. So I'll make it into a straight line. So now guys, let us insert our measurements. So from this starting point, I'm going to insert the waist. The waist is 40. 40 divided by 2 is 10. 40 divided by 4 is 10. Then 1 inch dart allowance and also 1.5 to close it up as our allowance. And on this side, we are going to come down to our hip. From the waist to the hip line is 8 inches. So here is our hip. So here is our hip. So when you now start from where we started, it's going to be 9 inches. when you add this 1 inch. So now we are going to now rule it into a straight line. I hope you guys are getting what I'm saying. So from the starting point, our waistline is 9 inches. Yeah, from the starting point, our waistline is 9 inches. Then if you come down to this 1 inch that we used to cover up the space between the waist and where our skirt starts is going to be 8 inches. So you can do it 9 inches. Do you see it? So our hip line is 9 inches. So on this hip line, we are going to insert our horizontal measurement. The hip we are working with is 46. Divide 46 by 4. We are going to have 11.5. Here is our 11.5. Then we are going to add 2 inches to it. Half inch for allowance for the lining and 1.5 for our seam allowance. So we are going to bring this down to the hem. So altogether, what do we have here? 13.5 inches. So we are going to bring it down to the hem. Do you see it? But we are going to go in by 1 inch only for the fitting. For the fitting, we are going to come in by 1 inch for the fitting. So now let us connect it. So from the waist now, I'm going to connect to the hip. This is the waist to the hip, and from this hip, I'm going to connect to the 1 inch that we came in for just the fitting. Do you see it? Do you see it? So now the next thing is just to cut it out. So guys, do you see it? So we are going to use this to cut out the back panel. So just fold your cloths again. The difference is just to add the zip allowance at the back. So you take your panel, you place it, and you add your zip allowance. The zip allowance I'm going to work with is 1.5 inch. I'm going to use 1.5 inches as my zip allowance. So here, let me mark 1.5 inches as my zip allowance. So this is my zip allowance, 1.5 inches is my zip allowance. Then I'll now place my panel in this form. Do you see it? I place it. This is my zip allowance. So now I cut it out. Do you see it? So do you see it, guys? So this is now our panel. Remember, we are going to work it out. Looking at the gown that we are working, the ruffle is asymmetric. The ruffle is asymmetric ruffle. So after fixing it, we are going to place it and also cut it out. So now this is our skirt pattern. Then this is the corset cup. This is the corset side of it that we are going to use. Do you see it? This is it. I've made series of video on how to draft it. This is the back panel. So I'm going to use it now to cut out our upper part. So guys, I've cut out our upper part. That is the corset part of it. So this is it. This is the back panel. I've cut it out. This is the back panel. I've cut it out using our draft. Please check out the tutorial on how to draft it. It's very easy. So this is and I've also used gum stay to iron on it, and also I put it wording to make the cup to stand. Do you see it, guys? So the next thing to do now is just to fix our upper part, just to fix our corset. I'll fix it, then I'll come back for us to start the skirt part of it. And also I'm going to cut out the lining, and also cut out the lining of this, then fix it, then we'll now see how it looks. Now guys, I've gone along to couple our cup. Do you see it? This is our cup. I've coupled it and also the lining and used the lining to turn it. Do you see how beautiful it is? I did an inseam finishing. Do you see it? And this is the skirt. That's the front panel of the skirt. I've also taken in our 1/2 inch dart allowance that we now kept. And also on the back side, this is the back panels. This is the back panel. I've also taken our darts at the back panel and also used the lining to turn it. I did the same to the skirt. Do you see it? So I did the same to the skirt, and I've taken in our 1 inch seam allowance. So the next thing to do now is just to join it together. I'll use the upper part of the back panel. Do you see it? I'm going to join it in this form. Do you see it? I'm going to join it in this form. That is the back panel. I'll use it to turn it. And also the front panel. I'm also going to use the front panel to join the skirts. You see it? And this is the skirt. I'm also going to join it in this form. Do you see it? And remember, while making the cup, try to go in more by 1/2 inch so that it's not going to be open, because the sleeve is just a fanciful sleeve. It's not tight at the shoulder, so the cup must be tight. Otherwise, when you bend down, your body can be exposed. So while sewing it, go in more by 1/2 inch. That is, use 1 inch in total to close it up so that it will be tight on the bust area, because the sleeve is not going to be tight to hold it. So the next thing to do is to join it together. After joining it together, then I'll use the front and the back panel to close it with 1 inch seam allowance that we left. After that, I'll come back for us to now achieve our ruffle. Remember, we are going to do it asymmetric at the down part of it. It's not straight. The ruffle is not straight. We are going to curve it a bit in this form. So right after joining it together, I'll be back for us to now achieve the curve. I have joined the front and the back panel together. This is the back panel. Do you see it? And I've added my zip. And this is the front panel. I've joined it together, closing it with the 1 inch that we now used. Let us control our measurements. The bust we are working with is 45. Do you see it? It's 22.5. The waist we are working with is 40. Do you see it? We have it. And also the hip we are working with, we also have our measurement 23. So now the next thing to do is to achieve our asymmetric curve on the down part of the gown so that we can be able to fix our ruffle. So I'm going to place it in this form. Do you see it? So on this side, because I want it to come from the right hand side, so on this side I'm going to come up by 4 inches. I'm going to come up by 4 inches. Then I'm going to curve it till the end here. Do you see it, guys? So this is the way I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to cut it out in this form. So let's cut it out. I'm going to leave 1/2 inch to use it to join to the ruffle. I have cut it out, leaving 1/2 inch to join it to the ruffle. So now this is the satin that I'm going to use. So I'm going to measure what I have here. So I will measure what I have. I have 23.5. 23.5 inches is what I have. The length of what I have is 23.5 inches. In order to gather it, I'm going to times this 23.5 by 2, which is going to be 47. So I'm going to cut out 2 47, one for the front and one for the back. So I'm going to cut it out. Remember, the length of the ruffle is 10 inches. That 10 inches, I'm going to add 1.5 inch to it, making it 11.5 inches. Half inch is to join it to the main material, and 1 inch is to fold it at the down. So I'm going to cut it now. Guys, this is my ruffle. I have cut it out. You can decide to add as much volume as you want. Do you see it? Here is my length. Do you see it? I have 12 inches, which is also okay. Do you see it? Then I'll use this to attach it, half inch. Then I'll use 1.5 here to fold it on the down. And also this, I have it. Do you see it, guys? So now I'm going to use the longest stitch in my machine to gather it. Then I'll fix it and we'll see how it looks like. Guys, do you see our ruffle? Do you see it? It's not straight. We now cut it asymmetric. Do you see it? So our gown is ready. Do you see the sleeve? Like I said, the cup has to be tight because the sleeve is loose. Do you see it? So our gown is ready. I will now put it on the mannequin for us to see how it looks. Now guys, this is the finished look of our gown. Do you see the men's own? That is the senator. It's a couple's outfit. Do you see it, guys? Do you see it? So lovely. If this tutorial has been helpful, don't forget to like, share and comment on my videos. And if you have not subscribed, consider subscribing. See you in my next video. For now, bye.